Sorry, I was muted during that because what I was saying was so violently offensive that you could tell from my hand gestures that is precisely why I had to. I guess I was censored essentially by the algorithm, and rightly so. This one's on me. This this is no. I'm not going to repeat it. I can't. I'll get demonetized again because I am. Anyways, hi. Where have I been? I've flown about 2,200 miles today. Yes, I was muted by the deep state. The chat's always on it. They know what's up. They know that the deep state establishment Dino Rhino Uniparty has decided that I'm just too powerful a voice to get rid of. And so they called the Illuminati, Booty called the Illuminati and said, all right, we'll put out this one last time, but you got to do something about that Sparks dude. And they're like, well, we just can't. He's beloved. And they're like, all right, you know what? I'll do that extra thing that you like with the pickle thing that goes into the. And then you're like, oh, they're like, all right, but all we can do is mute him when he's really offensive right at the top of the show. Hi, everybody. Yes. Yes, it was Chip. Chip stepped on a thing. I thought it was a giant conspiracy. Turns out it was just my cat. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Oh, what a day it has been. What a good time. My day, well, I guess the last, I guess it started off early this morning. Start off with this jackhole finally deciding there was something very upsetting for Bongholio. I've said a lot of shit about Bongholio over the last couple of years because it is my, what's the word? It's my phrase. It's my God-given right to talk shit about this lunatic and point out that he is a singular moron among morons in the world of right-wing punditry. We are often, I think you and I, even the trolls that are here, hate watching, are sometimes like, oh, he's not one of ours. That guy's a mess. It's some of literally the worst shit we've ever seen. And so I pointed out something, he got all mad. This is the second thing that happened later on. He wrote this. He's worried about tomorrow because this is Fafo Eve. Tomorrow, Trump is going to surrender. His attorneys have organized that he's going to go to New York and surrender and then make bail and fuck off and blah, 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 blah. And he's got to do it because he's got to do it. And he'll be a fucking fugitive and then it'll get all awkward. And then his supporters will try to kill police officers. And somebody close to him is telling him this. And he's like, rah, rah, rah. So anyways, all the right-wingers know that after Jan 6 and after all the Antifa BLM talk, where like, yeah, go down there and just hang the vice president and kill Nancy Pelosi and build a gallows and burn the fucking place to the ground because we're mad because our cult leader didn't win. They, as much as they call those folks Antifa and BLM, they know the truth. They know that they're actual maggots, and that a bunch of these maggots, like after the Mar-a-Lago raid, which wasn't a raid, it was just a search warrant, will do stupid shit like attack the Cincinnati FBI office for no fucking reason. So, anyways, this is, okay, this was what Bongholio put. This was later in the day. I'll show you the earlier stuff in a minute. Protest is your God-given right. I mean, he wrote right in all caps because right wing, I suppose. I don't know. But please do not get baited. The left worships violence. Do we now? All right. I suppose that's got to be a BLM reference to the riots and that kind of stuff. That's where he's going with that. Because I think the complaint has been, as long as I've been alive, is that the left is too passive and doesn't give a shit about national security, and that's why the Republicans have to be the tough guys. But who am I to... But anyways. And uses it as a strategic tool. Unlike, I suppose, right-wingers who don't use it as violence as a strategic tool, they just flail and step on their own and, get each other in trouble just to be idiots. Apparently the left has very coordinated strategic violence, whereas the right just, I don't know, gets mad and shoots up schools. All right, is that the idea? They are salivating over the idea of baiting you into violence so they can lock you up and burn the key. There's nothing they want more. Absolutely, because it's cold where we are, and nothing warms me up like roasting marshmallows over a nice warm key fire. The fuck? How do you fuck up a phrase like that? That's the kind of that's like a comedy fuck up of a colloquialism by a foreigner in like an 80s movie about a Russian. They're going to lock me up and burn key. You know, like it's, how do you not know that one? It's paper keys, right? It's probably he's talking about the same prison that Mike Pillow wants to make with the plastic bars. He's going to melt down the election machines, which are made out of plastic, and make prison bars out of them. So I suppose the key would be plastic. What the fuck is the point of having a key stronger than the bars you're using? I don't even know why I'm entertaining this. I don't know why. This is the stupidest shit. They will lock me up and burn key. But good thing is I have the goods on them and I have burned the receipts. Shit. All right. So this dickhead, like I said, I've said some stuff over the last little bit that he gets all mad about. Here we go. This will go back up here. Okay. So, and this was his response to that. I was like, burn the key. I cannot with this asshole. So the prisons have wooden keys. Let me slide this down. So the prisons have wooden keys. Burn. It's like every thought he has plays telephone on the way to his mouth. And so his reply was, cool, bro. Thanks again. We didn't know about keys. Much appreciated. Deeply appreciate your profound interest in us too. We had, by the way, just so you know, one of the big signs of an online coward is the we fallback. Trump does this a lot. It's not surprising that Bongholio does it. But to be a complete piece of shit when I call you out individually and you're shitting on me individually, I will take, there's one mild variance in that his first attack on me was an attack on my mom because this man has never graduated past third grade. We hadn't heard of you before. Thought you sold car parts. Thanks again. Be courteous and link to our shows. Okay, blah, blah, blah. He's trying to sell the thing. And then he goes, how do we miss this? Press, LOL. And he went and scoped my page, which is always a panic reply. And my reply was, yeah, you should try harder. I'm honestly sure. I don't think he knows what he said wrong there. I don't think he understands my criticism. Because my initial response to him was, on his primary one, was, it's throw away the key, you dingleberry. Because I'd had it at one point, like, seriously. And there's people who support him who are apparently enjoying this or whatever. Half of one, 6 dozen of another. Thanks, Nurse Dogs. And a bunch of these fucking people have, like, a bunch of people, like, he blocks people all the time. Apparently, he unblocked me recently. Which is really weird. He blocked Tara. He had me blocked for a while. And then this is so this is his primary one. So I wrote, Bongholio fucking hates infrastructure jobs, which is, like, as honest to God, as insults go, as jabs go, calling him Bongholio is way worse than the reference that he is saying. This is one of these, I don't have anything today, let's just call him the worst president and move on. Just use today's date and Biden sucks, and that's your tweet for the day, like he's on a fucking quota. Yeah. And anyways, so honest to God, like, you guys have seen me talk about this dipshit live on the show. Is that the worst thing I've ever said about him? Nope, but it was the one that set him off, because check this out. Only the type your mama dishes out. Gross. Get a hold of that. I don't know. I don't know where he's infrastructure job. He's obviously going for blow job, but in like the most ham-handed wiffle ball miss I've ever seen. Yeah, and everybody else was like, what? The who? The what the fuck is he what? I'm like, we're all amazed. Like, this is the stupidest. Yeah, nobody gets it. They're like, where, what? Yeah, like and then I fuck that. And the funny thing is like I said, his next comeback was arguably even worse. And I quite frankly, this was a say hi to mama, sure Jan. When I was like, because specifically, this was my response. Because I knew he would read it, because then his ego was invested. Like, he jumped in there. So he's definitely going to read the reply. So I was like, I can't miss this opportunity. So I added up a little bit. I made this one a little bigger. I was like, that's all you got? Your mom jokes on Sunday morning? Are you tweeting from church, chump? I was like, because that's a right-winger dig that they all feign Christianity. So I thought I'd kind of, lead with that one. I think that works. And then, since I know you'll read this, you are without a doubt the single dumbest political hack on the air today. I have never seen someone with worse reading comprehension in my life. Thanks for guaranteeing laughs in my live stream. I can always count on you. Now you can go back to pretending to listen to the sermon. Derp. And then I had to follow. I was like, also for the record, this is the worst attempt at a Yo Mama joke that I or anyone has ever seen. I mean, just lame. What a fucking whiff. All the shit you could hit me over and you crank out this half-assed mouth fart? Come on, man. I know you phone in your show, but yikes. And then his response was, say hi to mama. Sure, Jan. Sure, Jan? Sure. And then I was like, say hi to mama. I was like, wait, you want me to pay your mom a visit? What? And then it's like, yeah, it's just like, it became like this back and forth. And I literally just got fucking tired of responding, because I was like, this motherfucker, like, I'm talking to him for other people at this point, because he's not capable of comprehending anything. There was a certain point where I was like, oh, he's like day drunk or something. Like, honest to God, I was like, is he trapped under something heavy? Did I catch him in the middle of scarfing? I don't know. It was just what a weird thing to get your ass in a twist over in the first place. And then to like, just egg it so badly. It was kind of great. And no doubt, I have to feel like this was the face he was making, with the play button on his face, by the way. Like, he's gotten yeah, I can't even meme right. I know. It was like like trying to be dunked on by a grandparent. By the way, this is his response to Trump tomorrow, I have no doubt. This one's called Dan Bongholio. Our constitutional republic is dying a slow and painful death. Yes, it will probably die. It'll probably take about 1,000 years before we come up with some fully automated AI, Star Trek like future government. But I think it'll hold out till then. Yeah, Dirt GPT. Yeah, I call it Chat GOP. It's like when they don't make sense at all. Anyways, hi, welcome to the show. What a way to start. It's Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Please like, subscribe, if only because you know it will irritate Bongholio. And he did something else about, what was it? He's like, don't forget to include our link because we're up to nearly 1 million followers. For those of you who don't know, Bongholio is one of the primary people behind Rumble. So he makes sure that his show is always like the #1 Rumble. So it always gets views. And he does it by buying views. It's hilarious. It's the exact same as Trump always winning his own golf tournaments. You know that shit? Where he's always... he had blocked me and then he unblocked me. I'm hoping to get reblocked. Yeah, we're 1,400 away from 50K, and all my folks are real. So cheers. Thank you guys for being here, including the trolls. By the way, don't forget to share the show. That helps immensely. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. If you're on Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime to subscribe, but you got to do it every month. You have to re-up. You can also gift subs and memberships on YouTube if you want. Facebook stars and that kind of stuff to help out the show, and patreon.com/HalSparks. Now, let's start the show. I don't want to start off with Bongholio because I've had enough of him for today. But tomorrow, tomorrow is Fafo Day. It is the fuck around and find out holiday. Tomorrow is, and if the barriers that they are putting out around New York City are to be believed, it is because Trump is going to fly into Manhattan, or fly into New York, go to Manhattan, and turn himself in, go through his arraignment, get bailed out, and fuck off. And he's going to, by the way, do I think he's going to run or bolt the country? Absolutely not. So there's not going to be a situation where they don't give him bail or bond or whatever. Because if he did, he's done, and he knows it, and it's great, and whatever. He'll just go straight back to fucking Florida and start shooting more stupid, whining videos. That said, and it's not a physical danger crime and fucking whatever. Anyways, yeah, it's going to have a mugshot. It's going to be sweet. And by the way, the right wing are going to be wearing his mugshot. They're going to have posters of it. They're going to, like I might have I have a Lenny Bruce mugshot shirt somewhere in my collection. I have a Carlin one, for example. They're going to wear it like that. They're going to be ironic about it, or Elvis. They're going to wear it like that. But he's still arrested. So anyway, tomorrow they've negotiated this for him to show up, and that's why his attorneys were on all the Fox shows going, yes, he's going to go through the process, and Trump can, whine all he wants to, but he's going to end up following through on it. And dude's got nowhere to go. It's great. Yeah, Jim Morrison. Yeah. So yeah, if there's a gag order on him, oh, so good. Especially from the bullshit about him telling his people to protest, essentially, wanting people to show up. If his call to have people do that results in any kind of violence tomorrow at the actual place, he's fucked. Forget the people, that are, that'll, whatever is it? It's Jan 6th or 320, the 320 crowd, which will be some Jan 6ers that slipped out and didn't get prosecuted or haven't been found yet, who've decided this is actually the storm is coming, QAnon, right? Those folks, if one of them shows up and fucks somebody up or does something really bad, that action will be attached to his call to protest, call to to show up, and it will not be pretty, both for him, and it'll give other Republicans another reason to go. So tell me about this DeSantis guy, right? All right. So, anyways, I need somebody to walk us through how to what's the going on this. Now, everybody is talking about this today. Everybody is talking about it. And we're going to cover a bunch of these things. As a matter of fact, Newsmax is doing a 90-minute special, The Effort to Get Trump. And the justice of the scales of justice are out of balance. Right? Oh, DeSantis shat on him today? Well, they're going to throw back. And believe me, he's running out of powerful friends. It's pretty hilarious. But anyways, this is 90 minutes. We might dip into this thing, but they didn't put clips up. And by the way, in the most unfortunate headline or title for a video about this whole fucking thing, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Alan Dershowitz next to a picture of Donald Trump on Newsmax. Dershowitz, fucking hell, talk about being just tone deaf about your own situation. This is a perversion of justice. Don't worry. When he's arraigned, they'll let him keep his underwear on. You fucking creep. Ugh. 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 All right, so now, where's this? Oh, yeah. So, but we need somebody who can explain what's going on. And he's got Dersh on, so he's making the rounds because they had to call up somebody who defended him before to defend him again. Why a Trump indictment would make America a banana republic. When in reality, why not indicting this motherfucker for all the stuff that he's done would make America a banana republic and would create two tiers of justice, and some people would be untouchable or above the law. Like, and by the way, Nixon would have been the test case for this shit, but he went quietly. One of the reasons why Nixon wasn't prosecuted at the time was, yes, it would be a big turmoil in the middle of the Cold War for the United States, and the Soviet Union would have used it as blah, blah, blah. But the main reason why they didn't go after him is he fucking tucked his tail and split. He literally, in many ways, gave back what he got through ill-gotten gains by using the plumbers to try and help him get reelected and all that kind of shit. Ultimately, he had to give up that election cycle, that second term. So in many ways, it was like he returned the goods that he had stolen, and they let him, get probation and fuck off. That was effectively the Nixon situation. The difference is with Trump is that he was like, fuck this joint, come get me, coppers, like all the time. And then when they do, he's like, this is a terrible end of the world. So, okay, so we're gonna get a breakdown. Problem with these videos and lives, they're gonna incite violence. Nancy, I think that's a concern, certainly. But, and there is a thing, I have to say, about our side of the aisle, that they do not fear an incitement of violence if he doesn't get indicted. And I think that kind of tells the whole story. You know what I mean? Nobody on the Democratic side of things is threatening to burn shit down if he doesn't get indicted. Nobody's serious anyways. But serious people are like, we're going to fucking have to do something about this. Top of the world, ma.
Mr. Alan Dershowitz.
Oh, hold on 1 second. I got to switch this over. Why is that not? I don't understand. I've got to try to fix this over here. It's on the wrong thing. I often get an accent when I'm fixing something for audio. Like, there we go. Click over. Yay. All right, here we go.
How are you, sir?
I am doing great. I wish the country were doing great.
The country is doing great. It really is. Honest to God. I swear to God, like I have never in my travels seen a country more disconnected from the political bubbles than it is right now. Because so as much as we're supposed to be more divided than we ever have, the fuck this, I'll wait to vote till next time. I don't need to hear about this until next time. Crowd is getting bigger and bigger by the day, especially the doom sprayer crowd.
I think that the impending prosecution of Donald Trump will destroy the rule of law in America.
Yes, it's the end of it. I mean, if they can take someone so pristine, so genteel, so sweet, so innocent as Donald Trump, are any of us safe?
America, which is why I wrote my book, Get Trump, because
never pass up an opportunity to hawk your book on the back of America's collapsing legal system.
That's what they're doing. They're focusing on a person rather than a crime.
Well, that person has committed a lot of crimes, though, it would seem, allegedly.
So the Torah, the Bible, gives
Torah's not the Bible, but I get you. Go ahead.
prosecutors and judges two instructions. One, don't take bribes. That's obvious. The other is lo takir panim, do not recognize faces. Do not do justice based on who the person is. That's a prohibition in the Bible. It's a prohibition in the Constitution. It's a prohibition in the Bill of Rights. It's a prohibition.
I see. So the killing of Jesus was nothing personal. I'm just fucking around. But the what? First of all, asshole, we don't have a biblical system of justice. We don't. As a matter of fact, the founding fathers, who were deists and who believed and were men of faith, specifically created the First Amendment as a fuck you to the first two commandments. Don't believe me? Go look all three of those things up. Go look up the First Amendment and go look up the first two commandments and see if one doesn't attempt to cancel out the other two on the earth plane.
Into the rule of law, and yet the district attorney of Manhattan, ignoring previous district attorneys, ignoring.
Yeah, but he's not. This ain't the same case. This ain't the same dude. As a matter of fact, if what you're actually suggesting is that this current DA should not look at, should look past the law and change their attitude about how the law should apply to benefit Trump. That they should put aside all of their normal operations of justice in that to favor this man, which would be ruling on the face, not the law itself. If I do say so my damn self.
The U.S. Attorney's Office, the Justice Department, is going after Bragg on a made-up crime. A crime.
They're going after Bragg now? Oh my God! Biden's. I know he fucked up. It was a brain fart.
Crime that doesn't.
They're officially, just in case you're wondering, Biden is not sending the DOJ after Alan Bragg because he's going after Trump. Even though Glenn didn't stop him. It's one thing. Always feel free to correct your guest on a name because they don't mind. Would you mind? I've said, don't you ever flip names or flip numbers sometimes when you're talking about a big bunch of shit and you're like, what did I say? And you're like, you said your dog and you have a cat. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, his dog, my cat, whatever. Move on.
Exist. It's part of Get Trump. And
I thought it was Get Bragg.
If you want to protest, Get Trump. Get my book, Get Trump. That'll send
fuck you.
The message that we don't.
No, it won't. No, the judge is not going to go. Look how many 9 people listening to Glenn Beck's show decided to buy a book they're never going to read and put it on a shelf so that they can wag it at someone after Trump is indicted and is fined $150,000, whatever, double what he gave to his campaign, because he's not going to do fucking time for this one.
Prove of that.
I tell you, I don't think people are going to go out in the streets and protest en masse, which a few years ago it would have happened.
Yeah, it did happen, dumb fuck. A few years ago, just slightly over 2. Yeah, they did that. They tried to kill a bunch of people, including his second in command. Now they're kind of looking at the folks in the DC jail. It's almost as if that the prosecutors dealing with January 6th made good choices in terms of who to let go and who to prosecute so far.
But I don't think they're going to do it this time because we know this federal government, this Justice Department, does not protect the lawful gathering of American citizens to speak their voice.
What the how does he think January 6th happened? Does he think Nancy Pelosi sent fucking Capitol Police into the crowd? The crowd went into them, you dumb son of a bitch.
Also are concerned about, is that an FBI guy who is trying to get the crowd, all whipped up into a frenzy?
Yeah, that guy. Somebody keep an eye on him. I'm busy punching this cop like he told me to. I'm so gullible. I don't even know why Yeah, it's funny. Something says I shouldn't be doing this, but I guess. By the way, your interpersonal political paranoia about who you can trust in your criminal endeavors matters to no one.
Yeah, I mean, we don't.
What do you mean? Yep. Listen to Dersh. Yep. Well, in all fairness, considering Dershowitz's history, I'm certain that he has to check what he says because he's afraid he's talking to a fibby all the time.
Don't believe our rights are protected as an average citizen anymore.
All right. What do you define average citizen, motherfucker? Because if you average citizens of all stripes didn't storm the Capitol. They didn't. These were extremists. These were lunatics. Even of the crowd that was there to see Trump, these were the most crazy. Even the crowd that bothered to fucking show up and stand there and listen to his fucking blather, the vast majority of them lean more average than the ones who attacked the Capitol, and therefore they fucked off, had a pretzel, went into a couple of museums and went, what's going on at the Capitol? And then they fled because they were like, oh my God, it's the great day, they're going to come for us.
That's a frightening place to be in America.
Explain yourself. The fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? That the average person is worried about, I can't even speak out at my school board meetings because they're going to target me as a domestic terrorist. Did you threaten to kill the principal? Yes. Well, that might be why. It might not be so much politically. Like, remember the weathermen, you know, the folks, the Saul Alinsky and all those, that crowd, the left-wingers who were blowing shit up? Do you think they were attacked because of their politics? Are you attacking them because of their politics? I mean, you hate their politics, but that's not why you want them in jail. Because I'm sure that the weathermen had like 12 or 15 members that fucked off before the violence started because they didn't want to be a part of it, right? So maybe it's the violence you participate in, and saying that everybody who, you know, was for Trump or voted for Trump, you know, complaining that everybody lumps everybody together as deplorables and then doing it yourself. It's a little hinky. I'm just saying.
Okay.
And it's not only the Justice Department, it's the New York City DA's office, the New York City Attorney General's office.
Well, that's where he used to live in crime.
The Attorney General of New York ran on the campaign of Get Trump. That's where.
Yes. And it was very popular amongst his fellow New Yorkers who had been around him for years and knew what a fucking creep he was.
Where I got the title of my book from. Her campaign.
Really? What was the title of that book? I don't know. Has he had a chance to pitch the book
yet? Get Trump. She promised to get Trump no matter what. Constitution be damned. Bill of Rights.
No, she didn't say Constitution be damned no matter what. She was aware of his criminality. She was aware that previous DAs had let this shit slide, and people were fed up. They were like, enough of this motherfucker. That's the deal. She wasn't saying, I don't need a law for him to break. I just don't like his fucking face. That wasn't what it was. It never has been. And this weird kind of like faux innocence shield, especially when Trump doesn't even claim it for himself, is weak.
Rights be damned. The rule of law be damned.
No. If the rule of law be damned, why indict him? Then you're talking about hiring a hitman or some shit. Get out of here.
Trump.
They didn't round him up and throw him in without a trial. You think he's not going to have a trial? You don't think he doesn't have due process? You don't think his attorneys haven't been in constant talk with the DA to try to talk this case down? They reported it 3 months ago that they were trying to negotiate a way out for it. And they're like, nah, you've negotiated out of everything else. You got to face these charges, and you got to either plead guilty and pay the fucking fine so everybody knows that you're copping to your bullshit, or you're going to be convicted, and because you made the city pay all this money to go after you and you lied the whole time and you were found guilty, fuck you. 3 months in jail or something.
That's the most important thing. We have to stop him from running. Of course, the irony.
No. You have to set a standard that your legal system is worth a shit. And people, this idea that we don't go after people who are in a gilded cage has gone on for too fucking long. And believe me, with all the maggots that are like, if they go after Trump, what are we as a country? Get in line behind all of us who thought George Bush should have gone to fucking jail. Ugh.
Is even if they indict him and convict him, he can still run. The Constitution provides for only, a handful of bases for running. You have to be 35. You have to not have fought in the Civil War against the North. And
I would argue that perhaps an addendum to not fighting in a civil war would include not sicking people on the Capitol. That it might be hard to thread with this Supreme Court, but I don't think it's out of the question.
And
one of his dudes carried a Confederate flag in the fucking Capitol.
You have to have been born in America, and he satisfies all of those criteria, so he can still run. And this may backfire on Democrats who are.
Yeah, they said that about the Mar-a-Lago raid. He was like, I've never been more popular. And then did you see his launch for his presidency? This latest campaign? And I quote,
Are abusing the law to get Trump. And I hope it does. And I hope that maybe the district attorney will listen to reason and not indict him, although Trump has said that he's likely to be indicted tomorrow. You know, Justice Jackson once said that any prosecutor can rummage through the hundreds of statutes we have and try to find something against anybody, not just Trump, not just Hillary Clinton.
oh, just say the fucking, you can indict a ham sandwich. That's the phrase we all know. Get on with it. Well, it is the Glenn Beck show, so they're filling time.
But you and me and your Uncle Charlie and your grandson.
Excuse me, for the record, insofar as I know, Glenn Beck doesn't have an Uncle Charlie. And if he did, Uncle Charlie probably didn't get a massage at Jeffrey Epstein's apartment in Manhattan that cost $70 million, but a dude gave it to him for $1. All right. All the stuff about Dershowitz and the fucking massage and the underwear and the grossness of all that stuff, all of it. I have to say, he crossed my line at what the fuck are you doing hanging out in the apartment of a dude where the apartment cost $70 million and for some fucking unknown reason, a guy gave it to him for $1. What the hell? What kind of shitty, insane shenanigans are going on in that place? What does he have on that dude? Like, I would be, even if you didn't do anything, I would be paranoid to be in that fucker's house because it looks like a blackmail factory. And it clearly was. Yeah, it's called money laundering. Precisely.
They can find something. And if this prosecution is allowed to go forward and culminate in a conviction, it will.
Excuse me. Indictments do not go forward and culminate in a conviction. There's a trial. He is going to have the ability to face the accusations in a court of law, just like everybody else. I don't know if he thinks he can't possibly believe that every indictment ends in a conviction. So what is it supposed to, if this indictment is allowed to go forward and it doesn't, even though he's clearly guilty, what about that one? What about that outcome?
Mean that they will start making crimes up against the average person who they don't like.
Yeah, but only the average person who says they can grab women by the pussy because they're a star and they're allowed to do it and they admit to it and they commit libel against their assault accusers when the accuser has a dress with their DNA on it.
Can you take us through this at all, Alan, where
Sure.
Because people will say, okay, I don't think you should be paying hush money, but is that illegal? How are they? What charges are they going after?
Okay, first of all, this is fucking 5-7 years old. We've been through this shit before. It's a contribution in kind to his own campaign. It's him paying it. Well, he'll explain it. Like, we know this is a fucking and morally, let's forget all the legal aspects of it. Like even if they believe this was just a cash crime and it's victimless and it's, this is the kind of payoff you make to save your marriage, as if he gives a fuck, or as if anybody who would marry that guy as their third wife gives a rat's ass about all that chicanery, or unless there was a prenup, which I don't think there was, but whatever. They don't care about that stuff. But at a moral point, you'd think they would. Right? Isn't he supposed to be the person that the evangelicals prayed would arrive? I guess they didn't. I guess it was, they had their like checklist of do's, but they forgot about their don'ts.
Has this ever been done before? Take us through this.
Sure. It's never been done before, number one. So they're
Well, Trump is a very special man, and congratulations. He gets to go down in history with a big asterisk next to his
charging
name.
him with a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor has a 2-year statute of limitations. This happened 6 years ago. They're trying to turn the misdemeanor into a felony by saying that the reason he paid, quote, hush money — it wasn't hush money, he settled the case like so many other people do — but the reason
He settled the case. No, he didn't. He paid her to keep quiet.
settled the case was to help his campaign rather than to avoid embarrassment with his wife and his family, his children.
Yeah, which is easy to argue since he's kind of professionally embarrassing. Here, look. Any judge, any prosecutor stands up and goes, Your Honor, the defendant and his counsel would like you to believe that he paid off Stormy Daniels because he was afraid of the embarrassment it would bring to his family and to his wife. This is a man who, in the same 8-month period that he engaged in this, said that he would fuck his own daughter if she wasn't related to him. If he wasn't her daughter, he'd probably be dating her right now. And said of his own newborn, wonder if she'll get what her mom's got. You want us to believe that he's a notorious skinflint. He's fucking cheap. So you think he's going to dole out $135K to not be an embarrassing asshole? It's all he does. The only reason he wanted it to not get out was because he was now courting evangelicals because he needed that vote. It's the same reason he brought Pence on.
I'm not going to be able to prove that, but as the former chief judge of the New York Court of Appeals once said, a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich.
Right. See, we finally, after all that, you just get to it.
And in New York, you can probably get a petty jury to convict a ham sandwich as long as his name is Trump. And so,
yeah, he looks more like a grilled cheese, but I'm with you.
So there is a possibility that he'll get indicted and get convicted. I think it will be reversed.
Yes. And that is true of every defendant. Right? We all have to deal with that, right?
First on appeal, because the law doesn't permit targeting of individuals and making up crimes. This is a Mickey Mouse crime. So they say.
I don't think he fucked Mickey Mouse. I'm fairly certain.
That he paid the hush money in order to help his campaign, and therefore the payment was a campaign contribution. It's never been done before. They tried.
Yeah, because nobody else has tried that. Because he was the only person dumb enough to do that.
It once before on candidate Edwards, and it was a much, much stronger case.
Right.
And of course, they lost in front of a jury. But it's never been tried since.
I think that was because there was a kid involved and an entire other life.
And that was a federal crime. This is a state crime. And it's a shame that a district attorney.
Why was that a federal crime and this is a state crime? Huh. You're right. You know what? Alan Dershowitz has changed my mind. I think this should be a federal crime. Good job.
Would abuse justice so greatly, and it endangers justice for all of us.
So, Alan,
again, how? How does this asshole, who is like bragged about this shit, going through like a run of he's not going to do time over this. He's old. Like they're still going to go to standard sentencing guidelines that he softened while he was in office. So he's not going to do a day in jail over this one. Other shit, maybe, but not this one. He's just going to be guilty, and he's going to pay that money back as a fine and, some more money or whatever. And then whatever's entailed around it as far as limitations on his movement, maybe, which would be hilarious, but I doubt.
Where is anyone? I mean, when we...
Yes, where is anyone? Where am I? Who am I? Are you my mother?
Get to a place to where we're taking out our opponents.
They're not taking him out, dumb fuck. He committed a petty crime in the process of getting elected, like some mayoral candidate asshole in Chicago in the 1950s, and he's got to face the charges. He's not being taken out. Dersh just told you he can still run for office, even if he's convicted. Shut the fuck up. What do you mean taking him out? Why would this take him out if you think it's going to make him stronger? Like, this is so dumb.
I mean, I spoke to Mike Lee about this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah.
With Hillary Clinton and what was going on with Hillary Clinton. And he said, Glenn, once you start going after a opponent, you become a banana republic.
All right, fuck off. Trump literally got people to chant "lock her up" at all of his gatherings and then failed to do so. It wasn't that he wasn't worried about us becoming a banana republic when he was chanting "lock her up" about shit. And he's certainly not worried about it in terms of the Biden crime family and Hunter Biden and blah, blah, blah. Now he wants he wants the whole fucking family thrown in jail. He's not worried about us becoming a banana republic because somebody gets thrown in jail. He's worried about his ass going to jail. And so are you.
Public is just over because retribution will, the other side will say, oh, we're playing that game? Okay. And then you're just done.
I'm sorry. They're already doing it. What are you talking about? They started the lock her up stuff with Hillary Clinton. I have never in my life seen people from one side of the aisle chant for the other candidate to go to jail until Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, and they never fucking stopped.
Look, the head of a banana republic, one of the Central American dictators, once said, "For my friends, everything. For my enemies, the law, law." And that's what will happen. And Senator Lee is right.
No. What you're saying is, and this is what Glenn Beck and Dershowitz in their own little fiefdom inside this, what they think is their gated community inside America, somewhere on a mountaintop, Ayn Rand style, is for the plebes, the law, for my friends, everything. And that's what they want. They expect Trump to be able to dodge the law.
Right? Senator Lee's father was a good friend of mine. We clerked together on the United States Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah? Did you tell him about the whole, getting rid of Social Security and gutting it, tearing it down, burning it to its foundation? Was that your idea?
And Lee is a brilliant, brilliant guy.
Yeah, except that whole destroy Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid thing, which was not helpful. Still got him reelected, I suppose, because they don't really take it seriously.
And he's right. And we don't want to be a banana republic on either side. And
but my question to you is, where are the classical liberals? Where are the people that don't like Donald Trump? But
ew. First of all, you can't creepy laugh, Dersh. Secondly, I feel gross now. This is nasty. The classical liberals are the law should apply equally to everyone, and sometimes you've got to make an example of somebody. And Trump is an easy one because take your pick.
We'll stand up and say this is about principle here.
Yeah, that's exactly why they're indicting him. It is that. They're endangering people's lives having to deal with this motherfucker calling people to New York to protest on his behalf or engage in violence on his behalf. They have to deal with all that because they're acting on principle.
Well, you're talking to them. I'm the last standing Democrat civil libertarian in the world.
Bullshit. We disowned him a long time ago with the whole underwear story. He's not a Democrat. I don't know. I don't even believe that he votes that way. This is a line.
I may have a handful of colleagues, but where are the Civil Liberties Union people? Where are people who are supposed to care more about our liberty than they do about partisan politics? They have disappeared.
Maybe nobody gives a fuck about the rule of law anymore, and the country is turning into a shitty cesspool, like a South American dictatorship in a Woody Allen movie from the 70s. Or Donald Trump is a special kind of an asshole in a country of 340 million people and brought this on himself because he's a lifelong fuck up. What do you think the over under on both of those things are. Either, over 200 million people in the country just don't. Everybody's driving across the double yellow line, driving the wrong way on the freeway, shooting up like when they order food, they just everybody just robs the drive-through now. They don't even bother to pay anymore. Either that's true, or Trump is kind of a scumbag who got away with this shit for a long time, and his friends are just shocked it's finally coming home.
Not there. And that's why I'm the one writing the books now. Get Trump. I'm the one who.
Oh, God. All right. I'm not, like, if he's going to just keep hawking a book, that's as annoying as when, wait 1 second. I want to find the page. That's as annoying as when Glenn Beck does it with his Great Reset horse shit. And should we look at the beginning of this thing? I'm almost. And by the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, support. That's a Cash App thing. And then in a couple seconds, a Venmo will pop up on there too. You can support the show that way. Or this Saturday, I'm at Flappers. You can come see the show there. I mean, obviously, if the world still exists, because it'll be a Wild West. I mean, honestly, if we do become the Wild West and the whole country collapses because Trump has been indicted and the land and the king are one, I'm still going to do a show, and it's still going to be damn funny. I just might have to be armed on stage, obviously, because Burbank will turn into Bartertown, and we're all going to have to make Tina Turner the queen, and which I'm for. Also, so Saturday, Burbank Flappers come out, and then the following Tuesday is going to be the biggest ultimate jam night we've had so far. I'm just saying it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. Meanwhile, the effort to apparently get Trump is a big news.
Can drinking water before bed burn 46 pounds in 2 weeks if you are struggling to lose?
You got it. All right. I don't know what this is going to have.
Lydia Serrani and my co-host Sebastian Gorka will be with us.
Gorka. I will be there in a moment, Gorka.
In just a few minutes.
I'm late. I'm running late. I'm Gorka.
The political indictment of President Donald Trump is reportedly imminent. The former president describing this as one of the gravest times in American history.
Well, he's also the guy who described the AIDS crisis as his own personal Vietnam after not going to Vietnam. I'm just saying, grain of salt, maybe.
Writing on Truth Social, quote, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week, which will be.
Oh, wait, whoa.
Quote, the far and away leading Republican candidate.
What? Notice they highlighted protest, but they also didn't highlight take our nation back, which is usually says country, but whatever the fuck. She didn't want to read that out loud. Protest! Take our country back. Take our nation back. He's asking people to attack their fellow Americans and our civil servants on his behalf.
And former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of.
I'm sorry, I just gonna enjoy hearing that, I think. Give me a moment. Okay,
next week, which will be just in a few days. The person bringing the case is
clearly black. I don't know why they don't call him Alvin Black, and he's racist because he doesn't like orange people. Because say he keeps saying the DAs are racist against him because black people are in these positions. In some ways, does it seem like he just thinks he can crime more when he thinks the DA is black or something? Like it's,
funded Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan district attorney. All of this stems from a
49 years old. So what does he know? Huh?
2016 hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Daniels received a 100.
By the way, Newsmax, excellent choice of photographs of her. Doesn't do much for Trump's horse face attack. She looks quite lovely. It's a good picture. She's a lovely blonde lady aging very well, I would like to say. It's a good shot. Now we'll see what picture they use of Trump.
$30,000 payout after she threatened to sell her story of an alleged affair with Trump to the National Enquirer. A deal with...
Little did she know he was friends with the owner of the Enquirer, or the CEO, whose name should forever be attached to this story, and this story should never be told without bringing him up. His name was, ladies and gentlemen, David Pecker. The guy's name was David Pecker. David Pecker. Yes. The guy that she was going to sell the story of the affair to, but was friends with Trump, that protected him and called him and said, hey, it's Pecker. Which Pecker? Yours. You're in trouble. Yes, David Pecker.
Then brokered between Daniels and former Trump attorney Michael Cohen.
But but they didn't do it between themselves. There was obviously someone else. Oh, yes, David Pecker was involved.
Cohen was later reimbursed by Donald Trump. Cohen is now a convicted felon who served time for perjury.
On behalf of Donald Trump.
Tax.
Yes, he perjured himself to protect Trump.
Evasion and campaign finance violations. Bragg is now...
Yes, this one that he participated in.
Attempting to indict the former president over...
For his part in this scheme.
How that reimbursement to Cohen went about. Even the New York Times calling this a, quote, novel legal theory. In part, the Times writes, quote, in New York, falsifying business records can amount to a crime, albeit a misdemeanor. To elevate the crime to a felony charge, Mr. Bragg's prosecutors must show that Mr. Trump's intent to defraud included an intent to commit or conceal a second crime.
Yeah, I think they got that covered. I think. Yeah, because he attacked her to hide it. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Bless your
In this case, that second crime could be a violation of New York State election law.
Could be.
While hush money is not inherently illegal,
yes, we know. Otherwise, he would have been busted for it. What, 6 times before?
Prosecutors could argue that the $130,000 payout effectively became an improper donation to Mr. Trump's campaign under the theory that it benefited his candidacy because it silenced Miss Daniels. Now,
right. So that he could sway right-wing, conservative, religious-minded voters, Christians, who apparently, little did he know, he didn't even have to do that. They were going to go willingly. They were eating out of his fucking hand, no matter how gross it was.
This would be an unprecedented move. Even New York Times writer and CNN contributor and Trump critic Maggie Haberman seemed perplexed.
Yeah, she's perplexed. Maggie Haberman was quoted as like, do you realize how many fucking crimes I've seen this asshole commit and you're going after him for that one? Call me.
By all of this. Take a listen.
By the way, thank you, Blue Karma. Hal, you are the best. I don't even care if you plagiarize my comments. All right, well, I won't. I'll give you full credit, Blue Karma. Crimes. Thank you, Twisted Coconut. And then Tina Rugg, thank you.
We're entering uncharted territory here. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to note about this.
Yeah, that was true when he got elected.
Case.
When he ran.
As Kara said, this is a misdemeanor that they're trying to push up to a felony. Which
is a really kind of
exotic. It's an exotic
yes.
case. And a judge could decide, no, we're going to knock it back to a misdemeanor.
Right. And they probably will. And he'll pay a fine. But the judge, to knock it back to a misdemeanor, will require that he admit to it as part of a plea, unless they have one of those, Law and Order moments. Clung, clung.
Exotic case. Interesting there. And a judge could knock it back down to a misdemeanor. We're going to...
Well, the choice of words is interesting because I'm fairly certain at some point Stormy Daniels worked as an exotic dancer. So... sorry.
Dive into all of this, but first, let's head over to Trump Tower in New York City. That's where Newsmax correspondent Sarah Williamson is there live.
Who might be AI generated. We don't know.
Live for us now, Sarah. Reportedly, the NYPD is actually beefing up their security in anticipation of Trump's arrest.
And you were ejected from the building.
What are you hearing and seeing out there?
Well, as a supervillain from an offshoot Marvel comic or rejected from a Teen Titans television series, I have to say, as a mean girl rich character from the CW.
Good afternoon, Lydia. Well, that's right. We have heard a lot of talk and chat.
And she's got the supervillain accent.
About this extra security presence and a lot of NYPD having to prepare for this.
Yeah, she's preparing as an Australian. She's coming all the way over here. And you can tell she's from Australia because the jacket folds over the other way instead of this way. Like in America, the jacket folds over like this. But in Australia, the jacket swirls the other way. Your collar swirls around.
Possible Trump arrest on Tuesday, but here at Trump Tower, there is just the normal NYPD presence that we would see.
Yes, it's that they always use to keep maggots from coming inside and trying to touch the feet of the Trump statue or some shit.
On any other day. This is a tourist destination, and of course, Trump Tower.
Yeah, it's MAGA Mecca.
Belongs to a former president, so of course we are going to see an NYPD presence here. But there does seem to be some extra barricades that are around this building, wrapping around the entire block and on this side of the road as well, wrapping around this block as well. But it is quiet here. It is.
But is it wrapping around the block?
Sunday, of course, but we do expect that there are people who are here who are waiting to see if the president.
Yeah, the people are here camping out. You, sir, you've been camping out all weekend. What are you doing here, sleeping on the sidewalk? You don't look homeless, and you're wearing a MAGA shirt, or did they hand that to you? Is that part of the uniform? I don't know. He's not answering me. I don't think he's. Oh, it's a Bush. I'm sorry.
Is going to arrive, but this security presence is something that was already in speaking about prior to Trump making.
It's already in speaking about, sure.
That announcement on Tuesday.
Don't you make your brown spider pucker? Is that what it is, Flang Doodle?
Friday, there were reports of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg talking with the NYPD and other law enforcement agencies on a city, state and federal level about how to best prepare for a possible Trump indictment.
Yeah, some people are suggesting, they lure him in there with a line of fish delights. Just put a lot of McDonald's fish sandwiches on the sidewalk, and he tends to, if you do that, he falls flat on his belly, and then he starts undulating as he eats them like a walrus, and then you just make like a line of them go into a local precinct, something like that, where you have previously erected a net capture system, of course. Of course, you're also going to need some sort of a sedative in the last 9 or 10 fish delights that you put in there, because if he does go into a rage, there's a chance he might scratch the paint.
There has also been reports coming out today about the district attorney speaking about with the courts and with the NYPD on how best to ensure that his office and his staff are best protected in case of possible threats come an arrest next week. Now,
words are hard sometimes, and I gotta say, English is American English anyways is a, it's not like a second language, more like a 2.5 beta.
Any coordination that we are seeing with the NYPD does really seem to be coming from.
Damn it, Newsmax will not spring for hairspray for their female correspondents or even their long-haired male correspondents. This is why I turned down the job.
The Manhattan District Attorney's office.
The Manhattan.
There is no real extra presence here on the streets at the moment. We did hear from the National Security Council spoke.
Okay, the hair stuck on her eyelash is stuck there and it's moving up and down. It's driving me a bit crazy. I'm trying to hold it together. We'll do what we can. I feel bad. I want to say to all of our Australian viewers out there, don't judge my accent right now. I'm doing it for comedy. But also, don't judge her. We're not blaming you for
John Kirby today that he is not aware of any extra.
Now you can't take your eyes off it, can you? You can't stop looking at the hair on the eyelash going up and down, can you? It's just totally riveting.
Security being beefed up in the White House.
It's like Morse code. She's telling QAnons. Do we have some QAnons in the crowd that can write down the Morse code from her hair caught in her eyelash?
In preparation for this arrest next week. At the moment, this really does come from the district attorney.
It's not going to go. You've got false eyelashes on. It's not going to, trust me, I know. It's not going to come loose on its own. You cannot flip it like that. You've got to do one solid hand swipe to the forehead right here, this way diagonally down to the cheekbone, and hold it there for a split second. Turn your head away from the wind. You'll be okay. But this is not, I don't know why. Do I have to give a class?
As he is the one that has pressed these charges on the former president, Lydia.
Pressed these charges on the former president. Are we branding him? Are they going to make him wear a sign that says rapine around his neck and walk around in shame? You sit in the box for 2 minutes and you feel shame.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I know you'll be watching all the latest developments. Now, to help us
with your ice blue eyes that are driving us all mad, I tell you, mad.
Let's try and make sense of all of this. Let's bring in former Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Oh, okay. Well, I see. It was a rope-a-dope.
Welcome to this special coverage.
Pam, you've been engaged in enough criminality that you can't go outside without wearing a cross to kind of protect yourself and create an illusion of being a normal person. What kind of trouble is Trump finding himself in?
Lydia. We were hearing earlier Maggie Haberman, and she was saying that a judge could actually take.
By the way, I'm sorry, we got a call coming in from Alan Dershowitz. He's asking if you could unblur your background so that people could see his new book, Get Trump.
This case, and instead of making.
And Mike Lindell is in the back room going, my book as well.
Making it a felony, knock it down to a misdemeanor. And I have another two-part question. If this is a case from 2016, isn't there a statute of limitations here?
Yeah, obviously we know he's guilty, but can he get off on a technicality? That thing's 90 minutes long. There's no fucking way we're going to do the whole thing. But there's a lot of stupid going on. There's a lot of people that are very confused. Now, obviously, that's the big story tomorrow. This is and Republicans are making a real effort to have a balanced approach. Obviously the pundits are going to pundit, but the elected officials themselves, especially those that like to wear a giant YouTube play button on their nose and pretend they didn't see crimes when they happened right in front of them. Those Republicans are, look, we got to tap the brakes on this. We don't want anybody to overreact. We got to take it easy. This is all going to play itself out. Everybody's going to get their day in court, and we all just need to remain calm. I'm kidding. Republicans call on liberal DA to testify on possible Trump indictment. He will. You know when the DA will testify on the Trump indictment? Via the prosecutorial case. That's how a DA testifies about what they brought. You will see everything they have brought out in court. But let's see. Obviously, the guy who, obviously he hasn't seen anything. He doesn't know anything. I know nothing.
Well, they had to have known it was coming. The Biden.
Well, yeah, because he crimes and he crimes and he crimes, and eventually it had to catch up with him, even in this, Merrick Garland snail's pace.
Family under investigation. And at the center of it for now, millions of dollars from a Chinese energy firm. How?
No.
Ever.
First of all, you got to take the S off. Secondly, not from the energy firm. But other than that, you're doing great.
The crack in the armor of the Biden family, legally, that big payday is just the tip of the iceberg.
It better be.
The House Oversight Committee is diving deep and finding more foreign business deals.
Oh, yeah.
That are sketchy.
Yeah, they're sketchy. There's some sketchy. Yeah, they violate the Sketchy Act of 1970 sketchy.
Involving the now First family. I'm Harris Faulkner. You were in the...
Are you sure?
The Faulkner Focus.
Am I?
The committee says bank subpoenaed banking information will show some dozens.
Bank subpoenaed banking information. Sorry, what?
Bank subpoenaed banking information.
Banks. Are you Joe Banks?
Show some dozen deals now. So far, records show Hunter Biden, president's brother James, his daughter-in-law Haley, and one other unknown for now, unnamed, unknown Biden, received payments from a Chinese firm. Here's the chairman of Oversight, Comer.
Right now, it looks like...
It looks like? Don't you have the paperwork? What is it? I don't care what it looks like. Tell me what it is.
The Biden family just pocketed this money.
Yes, that's why they own multiple million-dollar buildings in foreign countries that are adversaries. But oh no, wait, that's Trump.
This is one deal. We have 11 more to go, and I'm pretty confident we'll be getting more bank records in very soon. The White House hasn't been
don't care.
Truthful about this from day one. I don't think the White House ever dreamed we would get bank records. I've got bad news for the White House. This is just the beginning. We're going to get a lot more bank records, and they're going to have to continue to backpedal and come up with some type of reason why the Biden families received millions and millions of dollars from our adversaries.
Well, I you know who I think really wants to know is the Chinese, because if indeed Biden got this money from the Chinese, they got fucked in that deal.
Oh, bank records, the ultimate in financial receipt.
I love when they take pictures of Biden when he's literally at events where people have died and just to show him frowning. Like they'll take pictures from when he like visited Sicknick lying in state, and they'll use that picture to be like, uh-oh, I'm going to get busted.
And when asked about it, his family members getting that foreign money, here's what President Biden said. One sentence, that's not true. In focus, Republican Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. He's chairman of both the House Judiciary Committees and the new subcommittee
on train safety. I'm fucking with you. He didn't care anymore. That's old news.
Weaponization of the
on chemicals being transported through small towns in America. They're doing a subcommittee to find out what went on and how to... I'm fucking with you.
The federal government. We'll get into that with him. He's also a member of Oversight, a very busy person. All right.
He's very busy. He doesn't do anything, but he's very busy.
Let's start with these 12 other business deals. What are we learning?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Well, I think there's a couple fundamental questions, Harris. First of all, who's the unknown Biden? And then second, what was the service they were providing that warranted receiving all this money and these millions of dollars? I mean, what work did they do? What service? It's just like Shazam. Here shows up millions of dollars.
Oh, like the $15 million that Trump took out of his Chinese account in the middle of his presidency, where there was $17 million put in it magically or whatever. And strangely enough, at the same time, his daughter got some of her trademarks pushed through really quickly. That kind of thing. I don't know. It sounds like you should look into those bank records, too. I think look into any Chinese money transfers to any American citizen that didn't involve direct material shipments.
What did they do for it? I mean, those are, to me, are the fundamental questions.
Well, obviously, the Chinese paid the Biden family just under $1 million to keep all the Trump sanctions, ratchet up even more, create the CHIPS Act and destroy their tech industry, keep every advanced chip manufacturer from selling their chips or the fabrication material to China for the foreseeable future, maybe ever. And of course, starting the AUKUS agreement, the Australia, UK, and US agreement to give nuclear-powered submarines to Australia so that they can go around, they can do laps around Taiwan to protect them in case China decides to attack. Why would they pay them to do that? I have no idea. I think I'm not here to kink shame anyone.
That's what the committee's trying to get at. And I would always point out, too, that they're called suspicious activity reports for a reason.
Yes, because of the volume of money that happens to everybody post 9/11. It's like over $10,000.
The activity in these bank accounts is suspicious, so much so that the Treasury Department puts together these reports that were...
Yeah, so we should be suspicious. And we should, until our suspicions are, allayed by information, we should be as suspicious as possible. And we should judge them right out, so that we can, if we're good at this, draw attention away from Donald Trump's very real and materially evidenced criminality.
Now finally getting access to and beginning to go through. So those to me are the fundamental questions. That's what Chairman Comer wants to get to the bottom of so that the American people have the truth.
How long? When is this? Seriously. How hard would it be to figure out? You know what I mean? Like it seems it's so cut and dry, or maybe that's it. Maybe it's that they present it as so cut and dry. This is obvious. I mean, there's a lot of hinky shit here, but you could tell multiple crimes and it's all hinky and they're doing this stuff. That you would be able to kind of check the boxes pretty quick. You know, like Trump's defense of Vladimir Putin, the weird way he walked in after their private meeting, the fact that he didn't have note takers present and he used their translator when they would have these private meetings. And then he was doing them as many favors as he possibly could and only really did anything against Russia when the Senate and the House made him. Lines up very much with the Alpha Bank server and the money laundering and human trafficking and drug crimes that were being, that the Russians were running out of Trump Tower was it the 21st floor or something like that, 16th floor, whatever it was, that he was engaging in. Like, that makes sense. That's pretty cut and dry. I don't know what the Chinese got in exchange for this money or what they hoped to get in exchange. They certainly didn't get. And I don't see the Bidens, who are a legacy-oriented family, selling the whole thing out for chump change. It just seems like a cheap deal.
Even the left actually does not love the optics of the Biden family's China money.
Yes, the left doesn't like the optics. You mean the people who hated that he got the nomination and were mad that they had to vote for him? That group?
Trail. Let's watch together.
Let's watch it together.
And it doesn't sound good.
The left?
There's a guy whose name is John Robinson Walker. He gets $3 million from a Chinese space company and proceeds to wire it out to a bunch of people named Biden, one of whom is Hunter Biden. Another one is a company that belongs to the president's brother, James Biden, and another amount of money to Beau Biden's widow, Hallie. So, again, from a layperson, that doesn't look good.
Yeah, so what? Oh, wait, $500,000 to Owaska PC, $360,000 to JBBSR Inc., $70,000 to a bank account labeled Biden, $25,000 to Hallie Biden. So is the $70,000 for the unknown Biden, is that to Hunter directly? And the $25,000 is to Hallie because that's the guy who he's having direct business with. And the problem is that they want this one to be the big guy.
It doesn't smell good, she said.
You're talking to a man who knew of ongoing sexual assault at OSU and hid it. People were being sexually assaulted, and Jim Jordan ran interference for the person committing the crime. Please continue.
That's code for how are we going to cover him and cover this?
Yeah.
Is it?
It doesn't look good, and it's suspicious.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck if it's suspicious. We can't go on together with suspicious minds. Jim, you're caught in a trap.
Jim Jordan, not Jamie Comer, saying that it's suspicious according to the United States Treasury Department, to Janet Yellen's agency. They're the ones who said this all looks suspicious, and that's why they put together these reports that we're going to go through.
Are those the only financial transfers that look like that? Is there a reason why they didn't think the $15,000 Trump took out of the Chinese bank account was suspicious? Oh, because he transferred it to himself, and the transfer of those funds into that account happened outside the country. Oh.
You know what? Let me ask you about something, though, just in terms of suspicious activity reports.
I'm caught in a trap. I can't walk out.
How common are they? How common would it be that you'd have north of 150 on a single individual? Just talk to me about what they really are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this volume of suspicious activity reports is probably somewhat unprecedented. I'm sure they happen. I'm sure there's...
Yeah, I'm sure they happen. I'm sure if we look for some around Trump, we would find some. We're not going to. Don't panic.
legitimate reasons why people can explain, oh, here's why this happened, and okay, no problem. We initially thought it was suspicious. Now,
right. That's how this is going to play out.
Now maybe it's not.
Now maybe it's not.
But when you have this number all about this family.
Because I love you too much, baby. Thanks, David. I appreciate that.
And again, I think this account, the one that Mr. Comer's talked about, Chairman Comer's talked about a lot, where this $3 million shows up, I think he said before that there was very little money in this account. And then all of a sudden, here comes $3 million.
Weird. So let me get this right. So there was this account that has very little money in it. And at some point, let's see. So there was this account, and it had, at some point, it had very little money in it. And then all of a sudden it does. When he hasn't been demonizing immigrants, screaming about Democrat-run cities, or gutting regulations created to combat climate change, Donald Trump has focused so much of the last 4 years supposedly fighting China like no other president has the guts to. Despite having nothing to show for the alleged hard line with Beijing, the president's trade war has cost U.S. taxpayers, and he's praised Xi Jinping as the coronavirus spread across the globe. Trump has spent months insisting that if Joe Biden wins, America will be in bed with the authoritarian nation. Nobody in 50 years has been weaker on China than sleepy Joe Biden. Meanwhile, of course, as we know from Biden's tax returns, which he released in contrast to Trump, the former vice president doesn't have any income or business dealings with China. But you know who does? The New York Times has an idea. It turns out that China is one of only 3 foreign nations, the others are Britain and Ireland, where Mr. Trump maintains a bank account. According to an analysis of the president's tax returns, the foreign accounts do not show up on Mr. Trump's public financial disclosures. Weird. Remember when he said, you've got all this stuff, it's in my public disclosures? You just look at those. You could see I'm a very successful guy. You don't need to look at the taxes. Well, that's because this was on the taxes, but was not in those documents. The Chinese account is controlled by Trump International Hotels Management, which tax records show paid $188,561 in taxes in China, when he paid a year that he paid $750 in taxes in the United States. In 2017, the company reported an unusually large spike in revenue, some $17.5 million, more than the previous 5 years combined. It was accompanied by a $15.1 million withdrawal by Mr. Trump from the company's capital account. That was when he was President of the United States of America. That was this is, by the way, the same year that these alleged hinky payments, these suspicious transfers happened to Biden. This happened to Trump. And Biden was no longer vice president, and in no way was anyone expecting him to run next time because of his age and because it had just been Hillary and it was going to be too late and blah, blah, blah. But Trump was president of the United States when this money showed up and when he withdrew it. In addition to the existence of a Chinese bank account controlled by a company that just happened to record 8 figures worth of revenue during Trump's first year in office, the Times report that shortly after he won election, Trump sold a penthouse in one of his buildings for $15.8 million to a Chinese-American businesswoman named Xiaoyan Chen, who runs an international consulting firm and reportedly has high-level connections to government and political elites in China. In a statement, Alan Garten, a lawyer for the Trump Organization, said Trump International Hotels Management had opened an account with a Chinese bank having offices in the United States in order to pay the local taxes related to attempts to do business there, adding that no deals, transactions, or other business activities ever materialized, and since 2015, the office has remained inactive. Yes, he had a fake office for a fake company, and money was put into this fake company's fucking account. That's not helping. In related news, earlier this week, the Times separately reported an extremely disturbing story concerning diplomats in China who, in 2018, were seemingly victims of an attack similar to the ones on their colleagues in Havana in 2016 and 17. Both groups experienced sudden headaches, blurred vision, dizziness, and memory loss. But while the administration withdrew embassy staff in Cuba, expelled Cuban diplomats from Washington, said U.S. diplomats had experienced targeted attacks, and blamed Cuba the family's its approach to what happened in China was suspiciously different. The administration took a softer approach with China. In May 2018, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who was the CIA director during the Cuba events, told lawmakers that the medical details of one American official who had fallen ill in China were very similar and entirely consistent with the syndrome in Cuba. The administration evacuated more than a dozen people, blah, blah, blah. While the officers in Cuba were placed on administrative leave for rehabilitation, those in China initially had to use sick days and unpaid leave, some officers and their lawyers say, and the State Department did not open an investigation into what happened in China. By the way, that's the same time that Trump dropped the rules on gain-of-function research.
And as you point out...
Yeah, because Obama put a pause on gain-of-function research, and Trump took that pause off.
Then it's paid out to people all with the same last name, and one of them being the unknown Biden. So that's a concern. And again, I think the American people are entitled to know what was going on here.
All right, we're about to break.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way about Trump's bank account when he was president of the United States, engaging in trade deals and other negotiations with China, where he softballed everything up until COVID kicked his ass, up until he realized he'd been suckered and was mad that it was going to cost him the election.
Some news here with you, because we are the first to receive and can publicly report a letter that you have sent out that starts this way. You are reporting.
Oh, really? Did you just happen to get this letter with him on the show? What are the odds? Huh.
Reportedly about to engage in an unprecedented abuse of prosecutorial authority. This is the case against former President Donald Trump and the New York District Attorney.
Yes, somber. Let's change. It's like one of those morning show TV, like local network news, when they have to go from the heartwarming story about a puppy that was found after 6 days in a snowdrift to the awful car crash on the 405.
Could choose to indict Trump. Charges would relate to hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Andy McCarthy with this a bit earlier.
Yes.
I think it's clearly a misdemeanor. It's one that shouldn't be brought.
Yeah, I mean, Trump should not have to face any legal ramifications of anything that he does.
And the attack on Bragg.
I agree, Melissa. Joe does love his son.
Here, it shouldn't be a defense of Trump, because it looks like this is a falsification of records. But the attack on Bragg ought to be that no one who was not Donald Trump would conceivably be charged with this.
Well, it's also, the crime and the cover-up, the contribution in kind, and the fact that he didn't do it just to save his marriage. He did it to bamboozle the American public. I would like to remind everyone that this asshole right here is the guy who wants to believe that he saw a poll at one point that if the electorate of the United States knew that Hunter Biden was a crack addict and all this stuff that was supposedly on the fake laptop, if the voters knew, 17% of Democrats wouldn't have voted for him. He believes that. He sells that as an idea. And that he deserves a do-over in the fucking election because they were denied this evidence, right? That's his case. He makes that all the time. And I would argue that that is precisely the same circumstance in terms of had evangelicals known about this Stormy Daniels affair and the Karen McDouglas one, I think, as well, during that time, who he had paid hush money to, or any of the other people that he's signed NDAs with, that had they known, they wouldn't have supported his candidacy, and they would have, more than likely, the Republicans would have run Kasich or fucking Jeb Bush during that time. But apparently, the law must be one-sided because, I mean, look at that Punham. Look at that nunt. There's no way.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeted.
Andy McCarthy. Andy!
Tweeted this over the weekend. I'm directing relevant committees to immediately investigate if federal funds are being used to subvert our democracy by interfering in elections with politically motivated prosecutions.
They aren't. But by the way, they weren't until now. Because right now, that's what you're doing. I'm directing relevant committees to immediately investigate. That's that requires the use of federal funds to find out if federal funds are being used to subvert our democracy by interfering in elections with politically motivated prosecutions. This is the waste of money part. Yes, you are wasting that money defending someone to make sure he gets a shot when he doesn't deserve it.
Congressman, you head up one of those committees that would be talked about by McCarthy. So we are now ending, per you, the embargo on this. Tell me about this letter and what you're seeking.
Well, yeah, this letter comes at the direction of the Speaker for the House Administration Committee, the House Oversight Committee, Chairman Comer, Chairman Stile, and then Judiciary Committee. And we've sent this letter to Mr. Bragg saying, we want to talk to you. We want to know what's going on here. We want to see the communications that have taken place between the Federal Justice Department and your district attorney's office there in Manhattan.
And this all started, by the way, before he was a candidate running for office. So what is the legal basis for why you have any say in this? He chose to run for office and be a candidate for office after he was he had communications to his lawyers that he was in this kind of trouble, after they had already negotiated with the Manhattan DA. So it's none of your fucking business. He didn't run for office and then they sprang this on him. He got called out on this shit and found out from his lawyers that this is actually coming, and he tried to run for office to head it off, and you're helping him.
Understand, Harris. First they went after President Trump on Russia. Then it was a phone.
Which, if Barr hadn't run interference and if the Senate hadn't kept him from getting removed from office, he would have been out before COVID hit.
Phone call with Zelensky. Then they wanted his tax returns. Then they go after his business records. Then they go after his children.
No, they went after his business records, and now his CFO is in fucking jail.
And now it's some misdemeanor alleged bookkeeping error.
I don't know. Here's the thing. Apparently, it's very suspicious, Jim. And maybe it's just suspicious. Maybe we'll find out later that it's just suspicious. But I think it's very suspicious, and we should look into stuff that's suspicious. You know what I mean? Because there's this unknown, these money changing hands, and there's this Chinese bank account, and all. It's very suspicious, Jim. It's very suspicious.
That they're gonna, and this is from.
We can go on together with suspicious minds. With suspicious. Sorry, I didn't move the hand for the background singers. Sorry, I'm gonna do that because the Elvis movie, aren't I?
The prosecutor who initially didn't want to do this. In fact, he had people resign because he wasn't going to do this because no one else will bring this case.
They resigned. No, they resigned because he wouldn't bring the case. They're like, there's a ton of criminality here. Why are you not bringing this? This is political. You are running interference for Donald Trump. You are using the mask of being a left-leaning prosecutor, or a DA in this particular case. You're using that mask as cover for the rich elites in New York.
I mean, the DOJ didn't bring the case. The Federal District of New York didn't bring the case. The previous prosecutor in the district there in Manhattan didn't bring the case. Mr. Bragg himself didn't want to bring the case, but then he got pressured, I think, from the left. And I would say this.
The left. Yeah, from the people that left.
The one thing that has changed, the one thing that I think has changed his mind is President Trump announced he was going to run for president again. And suddenly here they go. Now they're coming after him for some alleged bookkeeping error.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's how I would describe it in court. A bookkeeping error. Yeah, Michael Cohen went down defending a bookkeeping error. Good Lord.
You've got to be kidding me. So
no, it's like watching. I thought he was good at wrestling, and now he only wrestles straw men of his own creation.
We want to know what kind of federal involvement may have taken place here, and we want to know, did this stem from the Mueller special counsel investigation getting to this point as well?
All right, and you hit the nail on the head. I want to ask about what.
Yeah, did they pass off all the information because Mueller stopped because Bill Barr ran interference and our plan to subvert justice failed?
Happens if federal money was used, because actually paying off Stormy Daniels as hush money, as we would call it, is not illegal in the state of New York.
No, it's not. If it's illegal if you're funneling money to your campaign or you're using it as a mask for your campaign, and you know that that's why you're doing it. So you're and you're aware that it's wrong, so you send it through a lawyer who delivers it for you, and then you reimburse him for that money because you have an awareness that it breaks the law because your lawyer who went to jail later told you it was.
As I've read it, so how does the federal money play a role if federal dollars were used for that?
Well, we wouldn't use for that. Federal dollars may be involved. We're talking with the district attorney's office there, where the federal funds there, the federal nexus to us.
Yeah, she was a little confused there, but I don't think she's, I don't know. I take it back. Maybe she does think that he meant federal this whole time. She thinks he meant federal money, like the government paid Stormy Daniels through him.
But yeah, I think, you know what did they want President Trump did? Was he supposed to use campaign money? You can't do that. So this
was campaign money. That's the whole point.
This is, I think, just a ridiculous case.
First of all, second, prove it wasn't. I can't wait for this fucking trial. I'm very excited. I want to know exactly where that $135,000 came from, because not only did he go cheap on it, I'm just saying for the record that if I ever run for office and I have to pay off a mistress, they're getting at least $250,000. I mean, honestly, they've been through enough. It should at least be, a down payment and the first, year's worth of mortgage payments. Come on, for after all she went through.
Yes,
as one does.
The people of this country understand it's ridiculous. We want to talk to Mr. Bragg. We're asking him for the communications he's had with the federal government. We're asking him to come in and testify. We'd like an answer by Thursday of this week.
All right.
Yeah, you're not going to get
real quickly. If federal dollars were used then by Alvin Bragg or anyone in his office to go after Trump, what happens?
Well, that's a concern for us. We want to know what kind of communications may have taken place between the Justice Department and, because remember the.
Oh, for fuck's sake. All right. They literally want to reshape the legal system in this country so that local DAs cannot reach out to the federal investigators and put us right back in the position we were in years ago when the mafia and drug dealers and serial killers could escape, getting thrown in a federal prison because by hopping state to state. This is the Ted Bundy defense.
Justice Department didn't bring this case. They weren't going to do it. No one was going to do this until Mr. Bragg came along. That to me is a real concern.
Well, that's because it's a specific violation of state law in this particular instance.
Concern here. So, and this is the same district attorney where there's now record crime in New York, where he downgrades most felonies to.
Oh, we know.
Misdemeanors. The felony cases he brings. Yeah, you're right there. The felony cases he brings, he loses half of them, and now he's going after.
Well, then what are you worried about? What are you worried about? I mean, if, honest to God, if any of what they're saying is true about Trump, or even like who he is, if any of Trump's mythology were true, shit, if I was in this situation, or you were, wouldn't you just roll up and go, take me in, this is fucking ridiculous. Here you go. Yeah, no, cuff me and shackle me. That's the rule. This is the United States of America. If I'm coming in and you're actually going to indict me, you're going to treat me like every other prisoner, and I'm going to face you in a court of law. Absolutely. You don't get to not handcuff me. I'm going to stand there and go, look at this shit. Look at what is happening here. And I'm going to walk around going, yeah, like, put him behind my back. You can't trust me. I'm a badass. And walk me in there and go, and then I will make them uncuff me during the hearing and apologize. And then I will walk out of here and fucking smoking a giant cigar or something. Like, if any of the myth that's supposed to be true about Trump was true at all, that's how they'd be handling it. Instead, everybody around him is going, well, his attorney says he's going to show up, but he might hole himself up in the Tower of Mar-a-Lago and just stay there.
The former president and a guy who's announced.
Thank you, Water Goddess. Maybe I am, but in that situation, that's how you handle it. Especially if you're innocent and you're being. Let me look at any political prisoner worth their stuff. Goes, gladly. I will, I'll say my piece in court. It's so weird.
For president, and who's his star witness? Who's his key witness? Michael Cohen.
Right. His fixer. A guy who, by the way, Harris, you might recall, he had 2 clients, and then they found a third, and that third client of Michael Cohen's was a friend of yours. He's on your network. He's up in about 4 hours, I think, actually, after your show. Sean Hannity, you might know him.
Guy we all know has lied, who came in front of the Oversight Committee a few years ago and lied 6 times.
On behalf of Donald Trump.
In front of Congress. That's their star witness for this case that no one else would bring. If this is not
hashtag the best people
going after your political opponents and using the government to do so.
Oh, $135,000 would be a lot of cat food for Chud. I agree, Bald Thanos. That's true.
I don't know what is.
Congress.
You don't know what is. If there was any real justice in this man or in Harris Faulkner, he would blurt out, or she would demand him to confess what he did at OSU and seek forgiveness for it from the victims. The idea that this, anyways.
Congressman Jim Jordan, thank you very much.
Blah 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 blah. Okay, so how much time? We don't have a lot of time left. Shit. It's because of these long form things, whatever. All right, so let's go. Here we go. I held off as long as I could. Oh dear. Oh dear. He's very upset. Apparently, they've been making him read again. Now, Bongholio, for those of you who don't know, this is Dan Bongholio, and he has a show on Fox called Unfiltered. Now, I don't think Fox News host Dan Bongholio. Yeah, so this is his opening monologue for Unfiltered. Now, one of the most hilarious recurring themes with Bongholio is that his show is called Unfiltered, but he's always mad that he can't say what he really wants to say. I know. If he gave a shit about words, this would obviously bug him. He doesn't. Okay, here we go. So this is send us off into Fafo Eve. And by the way, I'm going to bed early tonight because I want to get up early, like right at the crack of dawn for Fafo Day. By the way, this show is heavily filtered. Oh, it's an alert.
So I've warned you repeatedly on this show over and over that sadly the constitutional republic is dying a very slow and painful death.
Have you though? I mean, if it hasn't yet, I mean, maybe it's just how slow. Maybe that was our point of confusion.
And the police state is taking its place.
Oh, the police state. I see. So Trump facing a misdemeanor turned felony charge for paying hush money and violating campaign finance law is basically, we're all in Escape from New York now. Keep panicking, dildo.
Power always seeks a vacuum, right?
Only if they're trying to clean up the streets. What? This asshole does not know how any colloquialisms work. Power? The what?
Death, and the police state is taking its place. Power always seeks a vacuum, right?
Yes, if it's cleaning the house, I suppose. I mean, I think, if they're tidying, when power tidies, you'll have to ask 50 Cent. I don't know what he does. I haven't read that book. I think the 35th law of power is use one of those spray dusters on your bric-a-brac, on your knickknacks. Shit. It's gonna be painful.
And we're in one right now.
We're in a vacuum. Okay. I do believe you're being denied oxygen. Does that count?
In case you missed the news today, President Trump reported via his True Social account.
Yeah, that's not news.
That it's likely he'll be arrested this week. Now, there's some dispute over if that's going to happen.
Uh-huh. Wait a minute. Some dispute. Excuse me. Are you telling me that I can't take his all caps Truth Social posts as, what's the word? Truth? Are you telling me he might be bullshitting us all?
They may have walked back some of those claims a little bit about an arrest this week, but there's simply no doubt.
Who's they? He's the one who said it.
That the Manhattan DA is looking at a potential indictment and arrest of President Trump. That could very well go down either this week or sometime in the future.
Yes, if it doesn't go down this week and it does actually happen, it will be sometime in the future. Yes, that's how calendars work. Congratulations.
Now, no show.
Man, he's whiting it right now. Like, no show what?
Has sounded the alarm as loudly as this show about the pending destruction of the rule of law and the entrance of the police state right in front of your very eyes, knocking at our door right now.
No, I disagree. I think Glenn Beck is running circles around you, Bongholio. I think you've whined about a lot of stuff. Wait a minute. It just occurred to me. I think Bongholio thinks he's said things he's heard other people say. You know what I mean? Like, he hears someone else say it, and he's so self-involved that he thinks he's not paying attention to their mouth moving or giving a shit about them. And the noise he hears, that their voice forming words, he thinks that's a thought in his own head.
If there was ever an example of this, it's right here, this abomination right now going on with Donald J. Trump. I want you to keep in mind the allegation.
I mean, Kennedy was assassinated. I'm just saying. So was, obviously, Booth killing Abraham Lincoln over the Civil War, 6 Semper he was intending for them to take over the North, and this was going to be their moment. I think I'm just saying, this ain't that.
Here. The allegations that Donald Trump had some payoff payment to hide some sexual episode he wanted to hide from his family.
Some sexual episode he wanted to hide from his family. His Manson family.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Let's just assume it isn't. Or it is. Or whatever makes your argument for you.
President Trump denies it. The obviously people prosecuting it suggest this is true and they're willing to take it to court. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to think about something and keep.
All right, here we go. He's going to ask us to think something he's never asked of himself, but here we go.
This in your heads right now.
Okay, keep this in your head right now. Look, I don't want to be rude, Bongholio, but a lot of us, your average person, it's very crowded in there. There's a lot of stuff going on. You've got extra space. So it's easy for you to hold one thing bouncing around in there, even if you don't, like it's so lonely in there and it's floating in the middle. You get so many angles on it, you think it's multiple things and it's just one. I get it. But the rest of us, we have a lot, going on upstairs. It's I'm just saying you don't know how good you got it.
Donald Trump is being accused of something he denies that didn't even involve his time in the presidency, that Bill Clinton admitted to doing in the White House while he was the president of the United States.
Yeah, but he wasn't rerunning again, and having an affair isn't illegal. So if the affair had happened before that and he had used campaign funds to pay Monica Lewinsky, you guys would be up his ass. If that's what he asked for, I suppose. They were a lot friendlier to him back then.
Was Bill Clinton in handcuffs?
No, because he didn't commit a campaign finance crime to hide that affair because he was already in his second term.
Are there threats to arrest Bill Clinton?
No, same answer. Dum-dum. This, am I telling you? This is, and look at him right now. This is one of the saddest things you will ever see on an actual functioning news channel. This asshole thinks he's on to something. You see that? Look at his face. He's like, aha! Like he thinks he's got this shit cornered. Yeah, nailed it again, Bongholio. This is, congratulations. Like it's amazing. He thinks this is, nobody's figured that one out before, and he thinks,
Bill Clinton's celebrated amongst the liberal tyrants that run amongst us right now.
Yeah, because while he was engaged in an extramarital affair, and they dealt with it, he and his wife are still together. They worked it out. During the time that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were together, whatever their arrangement is, that's an affair we know of. Whether there were more, none of our fucking business. But during that time that the Clintons have been married, this motherfucker has had 3 wives. He cheated on Don and Eric and Ivanka's mom with Barron's mom after having cheated with Marla Maples. And at the same time, the Monica Lewinsky affair was going on. And you know what? Insofar as like New York socialite page 6 goes, I didn't give a shit. Nobody else did. Same thing with Bill Clinton, because at that time, there was no crime committed. It's up to you. It's your fucking marriage. I don't care if it falls apart.
They are loving every second of this, ladies and
well, they're still happily married, and he's on his 3rd wife.
gentlemen. They worship the police state. They
worship the police state. That's weird. Like, I know he means Democrats / the left / Marxist. He makes no distinction between the center left or all the way to the far left. Like, it's all the same washy group. But did he see the Chaz Chop shit in Seattle? Isn't he clamoring about Antifa all the fucking time?
Always have. From the Mar-a-Lago raid to...
Wasn't a raid. It was a search warrant. And it was... carried out peacefully and quietly, quite frankly.
Locking up their political enemies. They have salivated over...
Sorry, what political enemies are being locked up? This asshole's going to pay a fine.
This for years. What's a police state? For those of you who may just...
Yeah, I don't know. What's a police state? Shit, a police state. What's a police state? What's a police... Missouri? No.
Be a little bit in doubt and say, I'm not sure. That may...
Yeah, no, like most of us. Yeah, thank you for throwing us a bone. Yes, most of us are listening to you and going, this deluded asshole is full of shit. Yes, exactly.
Maybe a little hyperbolic. Are we really living in a police state? Well,
yes.
What is it?
What is a police state? I don't know.
Ask yourself.
I thought you were going to tell me. Oh, now it's my fault. I see. All right. Maybe, okay, sure. If you're pointing a finger, there's always 3 pointing back at you. How am I supposed to do it? Ask yourself. How does this become my job? You're the one hosting a show, dum-dum.
The police state.
Oh, okay, you're going to answer anyways? That's a relief. Ask yourself. Oh, wait, that's my line. No, that's your line. Fuck, how does this teleprompter shit work again?
Is when you investigate a person in search of a crime.
A police state is when you investigate a person in search of a crime. Oh, you mean like stop and frisk? He has no idea. He has no idea. Also, no, by the way, that's overreach by the police in a particular area, unless it's a nationwide policy, I suppose, and that it's enforced. A police state would be where there are police checkpoints everywhere and effectively like prison guard level police presence on every corner, and you can't make a move without clearing your actions with a law enforcement officer. That would be the actual part of the...
Now, what does a constitutional republic look like?
Oh, God, it's such... Missouri. No, that's not right. That's not our government.
A law-abiding society. You have rights. You have big R God-given rights.
Oh, I got big R God-given rights. Like the right to carry an abortion machine into a school or a church and not have anyone have to be able to ask you even one fucking question before you open fire, because up till the second you pull that trigger, you're a law-abiding gun owner. That kind of thing. Those kind of big R.
What happens is someone alleges a crime. Hey, I was mugged. What
they allege it. Okay, that's how it goes. All right.
the police do, or the FBI, if it's a bank robbery, whatever it may be, they say, we're going to research this. We're going to go do an investigation, and we're going to try to find the person.
Yes, FBI always gets involved in muggings.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this
especially loud
case,
ones.
the person was already found. The crime was found later. Remember Beria, the infamous Soviet who said, you show me the man, I'll find you the crime?
Okay. He does know that this entire story about him is years old. And Michael Cohen wrote a fucking book about it in the last few years. They didn't arrest Trump and hold him and then squeeze the Stormy Daniels payment out of him while he was being interrogated, for fuck's sake. They dragged their ass going after him for this shit. That's why they're clamoring about the statute of limitations. They didn't hunt down the crimes for this asshole. He bragged about money he got from China and from Russia while on the campaign trail and before, and then lied about it later.
Well, I'm showing you the man.
Uh-huh. Please don't Bobert us, whatever you do, Mr. Boberty. I'm showing you the man? Oh, you mean Trump? Yeah. You mean the guy who paid the money to his fixer and bragged about having a fixer? And again, Sean Hannity was a client of Michael Cohen's. You want to bust somebody and find the crime? Here's what that would require. Arrest Sean Hannity and hold him until he tells you why he hired Michael Cohen, a felon and an admitted liar who lied under oath. And what did he hire him to do on his behalf as a fixer? That would be an example of your definition of a police state, which is still stupid. This is a known crime this dickhead wrote off years ago, and then he engaged in more.
It's Donald J. Trump.
Oh, I was sorry. I got that. I thought that was the dude from the dinner theater version of Caddyshack who plays Judge Smales.
And they're going to find a crime no matter what.
Well, I mean, it's not going to take a lot of work, though. I mean, this isn't National Treasure, motherfucker. He brags about it. How about grabbing women by the pussy and they can't even say anything because you're a star? They let you do it. Because you just grab a woman and start kissing. You don't even know her. Mm-hmm.
Folks, this is one of the darkest days in our history. If this turns out to be true.
Which part? The part that he paid a porn star to hide a affair from... Oh, you don't give a shit about that. The part that he paid it to Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen paid her, and then... Michael Cohen paid her, and then Trump reimbursed him for the payment to try and hide it from both the world, his campaign, and his family, or basically just the evangelicals.
And the political opponent of a man in the White House, Joseph Biden, whose son is on tape committing sexual acts that you're accusing Donald Trump of.
Huh? But, okay. You do realize nobody gives a fuck about the sex part, right? He doesn't, does he? He has no idea. He's that stupid. He thinks that Alan Bragg is going to indict Trump for an affair tomorrow. That's what he thinks is going to happen, legitimately. Like, at first, I thought he was just using it as an excuse. Like, this is no big deal. They're just stacking something on top of this. Which, by the way, like, this asshole came to Bill Clinton's defense about the idea that they went after Whitewater and they ended up... I mean, that arguably is exactly this. That they tried to use Whitewater as a way to investigate the Clintons, and all they came away with was he had an affair, which is not illegal. And he also didn't use that affair. He didn't hide that affair, pay anybody hush money to hide that affair so that he could get reelected. In the case of, in Donald Trump's case, get elected in the first place. I mean, I guess technically you'd have to... Only a vice president having an affair could the first time they become president. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Anyways, point is, look at him. He thinks he's onto something.
The son of the White House, the president sitting.
The son of the White House. Son of a White House.
In the White House right now with his.
The son of the White House of the presidency of the White House.
Trump. The son of the White House, the president sitting in the White House right now, deals parked in the Oval Office, is on tape in business deals reported multiple times with multiple members of the Biden family, according to the business partner, including Joe Biden himself, is on tape engaging in some of these same activities you've accused Donald Trump of when he wasn't even the president, and nobody on the left cares.
Yeah, we don't care because we don't give a fuck. Your relationships are your relationships. Like, I can think Trump's a scumbag, but I don't think he has to go to jail for that shit. It's the campaign finance stuff and the hush money part of it that's specifically aimed at manipulating the electorate. And again, this is a situation where Trump has said that if people had known about Hunter Biden and all of his business deals and his sexual escapades and his smoking in the bathtub, then 70% of Democrats wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden, and so therefore the election was rigged. Well, then explain to me how the election wasn't rigged if Trump paid Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal to keep their fucking mouth shut about affairs they had so he could court evangelicals and bring on Mike Pence to cover his flank.
Because again, you show me the man when you're a communist, I'll show you the crime.
Well, I think I don't even need it at that point. I mean, isn't communism a crime in and of itself? I mean, gee whiz.
And I'm showing you the man.
You're showing me the van? He said van. I think.
The man, when you're a communist, I'll show you the crime. And I'm showing you the man.
He's showing us the van. So, I mean, he's more like a bus, but I get where you're going with this. This is the moment where he realizes time has passed and I've really done nothing with my life.
Donald Trump. Folks, a couple more thoughts on this.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you can't do a 3-minute and 51-second opener to the show. It's unprofessional. It's just shit. Software shit.
One of the darkest days in our history.
I mean, honestly, we had a civil war. Like, the U.S. government accidentally nuked North Carolina at one point. We dropped a nuclear bomb. It didn't go off, thank God. Kennedy assassination, Nixon's resigning, the fact that we now know that members of Reagan's cabinet, or his campaign at the time, who would later be in his cabinet, were negotiating with the Iranians to keep the hostages until after the election. Like, holy shit. Like, a level of election interference that nobody has fucking touched. Nobody went where Reagan went. And I'm supposed to be worried that this fuckhead, who's done dozens of things, bragged about, like, sexually assaulting women, just flat out, he feels like he can grab women if he chooses to, doesn't have to say a word, and he's done it. He brags about doing it. Hanging around with Jeffrey Epstein, partying alone with Jeffrey Epstein and a bunch of women that he and Epstein paid to be there. And I'm supposed to think that the entire republic is going to fall because this motherfucker, a former game show host, with a guy with a bit part in Home Alone 2, a social gadfly from Manhattan, a second-generation rich shithead who had to steal from his brother and his sister's trust funds just to keep the fucking company afloat after his dad died, who talks shit about his sons and talks sex about his own daughter. All of America. That's what Dan Bongholio thinks of America. That America, with all its worth and its might and its importance in the world and its historic value as a democracy and everything, all of that collapses if this motherfucker doesn't get away with crime.
The constitutional republic, we've managed to survive as long as we have the world's most prosperous democracy ever in the history of the cosmos.
Yeah, well. citation needed. One more time.
As long as we have the world's most prosperous democracy ever in the history of the cosmos.
In the cosmos. So we're assuming that all alien civilizations are monarchies. I suppose they're like beehives, right? With a queen, like in Aliens. The history of the cosmos? The cosmos.
Because of faith in institutions.
Yes, well, yeah, in other planets, they don't have faith in institutions. They could never make that. I think it's the tentacle thing or whatever. It's just hard to negotiate with somebody with more than 19 appendages.
Don't assume that's a given.
I don't. That's why I voted for Joe Biden.
All of this stuff that we do, whether it's our belief in our Constitution and the rule of law and God.
Yeah, that's the stuff we do.
Given rights enshrined by that piece of paper. That is just a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's just a piece of paper. This guy would wipe his ass with it in a fucking second, and we both know it. And oh, that's not what you were about to say?
Our Constitution only works because people believe in it.
Yes, our Constitution is the Peter Pan of documents. No, our Constitution works because there are enshrined laws based on it, and everybody who's a citizen either has to behave under them or get the fuck out, because that's how a constitutional republic actually works. You can go against it, but you don't get the benefits of it if you do, because civil wars, etc., etc., etc. This is just...
Ladies and gentlemen, faith in our institutions are collapsing. You don't have to believe me, just...
Why don't? Just look out in the roads. People they're not even obeying stop signs anymore.
Just look at the polls.
Just look at the polls. Rasmussen.
Revered institutions like our military, the FBI, revered institutions. In the past, 50, 60 years ago, where people used to tune in to Walter Cronkite for the media thinking they were getting the truth.
Yeah, I can see why people would lose faith in the news media, considering you're on an actual news channel, Bongholio. But insofar as revered organizations like the FBI and the military, it's your side that's shitting on them.
Now they know the media is part of the apparatus, and institutions' faith in them are absolutely collapsing.
You are on the media. You are multiple different variations of the media. Big format ones, too. You are an investor in large format social media, and you have a show on Fox.
Do you really believe an obviously political attack on the opponent of a sitting president right now for a completely...
Wait a minute, they're going after DeSantis?
Ridiculous charge. No serious person not in need of mental health takes seriously. You really believe...
No serious person takes seriously.
Believe this is going to reestablish faith?
You're showing a picture of a man who looks like he's jacking someone off on his own chin. And at a time when he has something about Mary hair.
Faith in institutions and lead to a more prosperous United States. Folks, the country's bifurcating.
Yes, it is. It's bifurcated.
The country's bifurcating.
Is it bifurcating?
Into a tyrannical police state left.
And a wild and woolly libertine right. They're just all fucking and hanging out and boo-ba-doo. I guess you gotta be contra. What are you gonna do? A police state left and Florida, which is arguably a police state right. I don't know. I guess it's battle of the police states at this point.
That wants third world type law enforcement, right?
Okay.
And here used to.
Wait, in third world countries, do foreign leaders get months, if not years, to ignore charges and call their supporters, and then when they do go to court, they pay a fine equal to what they were doing, and then end up getting probation, and then that's that? I don't know. I've been giving the third world a rap.
Conquer your
a bad rap.
Political enemies, and then us, the sane people, the rest of us.
Which, what are you guys doing? Obviously, because we're in an escape from New York, you know. You're the Duke, A11. But what's the rest of it? It's just all NASCAR and titty bars? What's happening? What is it? It sounds great, but where, I'm sorry, I don't know what the fuck he's getting at.
Folks,
this is not, we're in trouble now. And if this rich asshole can't get away with petty crime, what chance do I have?
you stand no chance in these blue states anymore.
You don't. Yeah, absolutely. If you go to California, don't even go near Disneyland because they'll like let you in if you buy a ticket, and it's fucking terrifying. And then while you're there, you have to like behave yourself.
This New York City prosecutor is allowed to do this, and you are not a Democrat. You need to get out as soon as you can.
Yes, evacuate. That's what you did. You know what? It's a banking crisis too. Take all your money out and leave. Yes, leave all the blue states and race to the nearest red state. Go move to Texas or some shit, Louisiana, Mississippi. Find a nice chemical plant with a cancer cluster around it. Buy a house with lead paint. Stockpile some guns and enjoy all the fast food that you eat to own the libs.
You run the very real risk of becoming a target of these deep staters.
Yes, if you engage in billions of dollars of financial crimes, insist on your ability to sexually assault women, brag about it, and then claim that they were too ugly to rape in the first place and shit like that, you might raise someone's ire. I mean, but granted, I know what you're thinking. Aren't there a bunch of like New York fuckheads who've managed to dodge this shit for years, even beyond Donald Trump? And you'd be right. But that's because they haven't seen you yet. I mean, look at you, walking around looking all good. Think you could step onto those New York streets and not be scooped up by the man? Come on. They'd look right over the Bernie Madoffs of the world, right past the Gottis, right past the Trumps, go, who? Is that a sparkler? What's happening?
Who will stop at nothing to make sure when you become a threat to them, that they make sure they take care of it.
What kind of threat are we talking about? You mean violating campaign finance law or the sexual assault part?
Using our law enforcement system. One final thought on this, folks.
Okay. Also citation needed. I haven't seen a thought yet. So, how about a final attempt at a thought?
Folks. Former president called for protests. That is your constitutional God-given right.
Oh, this is the part he said. If he says fucking burn the keys here, if they just copied and pasted.
But I am begging you as a friend to you. You know I've never steered you wrong. Please look me in the eye here. This is the most important.
Okay. That's a camera you're looking into. You can't tell if people are looking wherever they like. The idea that you would want them to like stare at their television and promise their TV something is maniacal lunacy. It's feverish egomaniacal dipshittery at its best. And you have steered people wrong constantly.
One thing I'm going to say right here, and I'll leave it at this.
All right, please. Yes, this please. I'm just happy it's going to end.
Please protest. But please, God, and I'm not using his name in vain, please do.
Wait, God is supposed to protest? Great, so lightning. Terrific.
Do it peacefully. These people on the left would like nothing more than any excuse to use against you to throw you in prison too. They want nothing more.
No, I think that I got a long list of things I want in the world, and wasting my time throwing maggots in jail personally or even paying attention to these motherfuckers doesn't even chart. Does this asshole realize the rest of us have lives?
It's a dark day, folks.
It's so dark. It's dark. So dark. And tomorrow it gets darker. It's the darkest day in our history till tomorrow. And then perhaps Wednesday. It's going to get darker. It's always darkest before the darkness. Get your hands off of my woman, motherfucker!
Vote accordingly.
Vote accordingly. What? This is What? Don't look at me like you don't. It's not my fault you just said what you said. What?
It's a dark day, folks. Vote accordingly.
All right. This is, I don't know. I don't know. Honest to God, that's amazing. It's nice. I thought at a certain point that at the beginning of the day that yesterday, that he would kind of top out on just not knowing how to talk like a person. I'm so happy we weren't disappointed. How are you going to stream tomorrow during the day if something happens? Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try and hop on with Johnny Million's stream and then roll straight into ours. And if we're on when it happens, hopefully it'll work out. Maybe it'll overlap. I hope nothing actually happens, but and I'm sure, some of these dipshits will start lining up in the morning. I think the turnout's going to be lame is what I think. That's what, yeah. Did he say vote? No, he said vote accordingly. Listen to this again.
It's a dark day, folks. Vote accordingly.
I like that certain points where you're just like, I feel like I'm watching Charlie Brown's Teachers. It's just gibberish. Like you can't even, there's not even a sharp cut against this because it's all just ground beef. There's nothing like, it's you know what it is? You show up to a steak restaurant and what they give you is that pink slime. And you're like, I don't even know how to cut this. So I use a fork with this shit. Ouch. I don't know. Is he on some kind of a wind down? Are we, I'm dead serious. Are we seeing some sort of like odd phase? Are we going to find out like he checks himself into rehab? Because that was hideous. I mean, here's the thing. Obviously, he has staff on the show, and clearly it's a skeleton crew. He's not getting the big help that Hannity's getting or something. As three people on the staff tops, and someone is putting that shit in the teleprompter, and he's sitting there talking with them, and they're kind of typing up their notes and putting it in there, and he's half-assing his way through it. He doesn't run it beforehand or any of that stuff. That's clear. But the weird part is, I know what he's attempting to say. Because it's not original. It's what a lot of these dickheads are saying, right? It's what they're all attempting to say. And he thinks he's picked a special angle that he's made his own, but it's basically just copycat bullshit. But like you gotta hunt for the meaning in what he's saying, to find what is obviously there. It's like he's definitely trying to say this, and he can't say it. And not only is he whiffing it, he's like fucking up trying to attempt to articulate a point, but he thinks he's making the point great. He's like impressed by himself, and he's so like his ego is just so excited about this place in history he thinks he's playing, that he doesn't even think about the words falling out of his face. It's super confusing. It's like, yeah, he thinks he's impressed with himself. And it's the same thing that showed up in the tweets he was sending. I was like, in the tweets he was sending, he was like, you got the feeling when you're reading him, like he thinks like he's like high-fiving himself in the bathtub or wherever. And it's the same thing on the show. It's very weird. Anyways, tomorrow going to be very exciting. Tomorrow, regular show in the afternoon, no morning show. But this Friday, from Crooks and Liars, Mr. Electrico himself, Driftglass, and Blue Girl will come on the show to talk about, I don't know if anything happens in the news. We'll see. And then Wednesday, Philip will be joining us. I might have to stack guests a little bit over the next few weeks, because it's going to get crazy. Next Monday's show will be done from LA, and I'm trying to do it in studio with somebody. So we'll see if we can work that out. Wish me luck. And until then, Flappers this Saturday. Patreon, I will be, all our Patreon members, I will be streaming it to you guys on Saturday night, 7:30 my time is the show. We got a couple of openers, lovely people dropping in. And then on Tuesday, Ultimate Jam Night, enormous. Like, I'm just saying, some biggish people's coming. I'm trying to get some other ringers to come in. We might be too stacked with celebs. It's pretty cool because we're doing it to support an animal charity, so people will come out, when it's special like that. I'm very excited. You know who I'm not supposed to tell you, but you know who I'm really excited is going to be there? It's